The morning sun filtered through the curtains of Kate Winter's small cabin, illuminating dust particles that danced in the light. She stretched and rubbed her eyes, trying to shake off the strange dreams that had haunted her all night. Stars, voices, and shadows had chased her through her sleep, just like they had for the past week. Today was her 25th birthday, but it didn't feel like a day to celebrate. Kate lived alone on the edge of a forest in rural Montana. Her nearest neighbor was 2 miles away, and she liked it that way. She worked from home as a graphic designer, rarely went to town, and enjoyed her peaceful life with her black cat Midnight. But lately, things had been different. Strange things had always happened around Kate. Light bulbs would burst when she got angry. Electronics sometimes failed when she touched them. Once, when a high school bully had cornered her behind the gym, the girl had suddenly tripped on nothing and broken her arm. Kate had always told herself these were coincidences, but deep down she knew better. Another weird morning, Midnight, she said to the cat curled at the foot of her bed. The cat opened one yellow eye, almost as if understanding. Kate showered and made coffee, trying to ignore the odd feeling in her stomach. She touched the small wooden pendant that hung around her neck, the only thing her mother had left her before disappearing 15 years ago. The pendant felt warm today, warmer than it should be. As she sipped her coffee on the porch watching the forest, Kate noticed something unusual. A bird was watching her. Not just any bird, but a large raven sitting on a branch nearby, its head tilted as if studying her. When their eyes met, the bird didn't fly away but nodded slightly. Great. Now I'm imagining birds are nodding at me, Kate muttered. Her phone rang, startling her. It was her friend Olivia. Happy birthday, weirdo. Olivia's cheerful voice came through the speaker. Are we still on for dinner tonight? Yeah, of course, Kate replied, trying to sound normal. Good, because I'm not letting you spend your 25th birthday alone in those woods talking to your cat. After hanging up, Kate went back inside to work, but she couldn't focus. The pendant grew warmer through the day, and sometimes she thought she saw it glow with a faint blue light. That evening, as Kate was getting ready to meet Olivia, she noticed a black car parked on the dirt road near her driveway. People rarely came this far out unless they were lost. Through her window, she watched 2 men in dark suits step out and look around. They were tall and moved with unusual stiffness. Something about them made Kate's skin crawl. They hadn't knocked or announced themselves. They were just watching. The pendant burned against her skin. Without knowing why, Kate slipped out her back door and into the woods. She would circle around and take the forest path to town. She didn't want to meet those men. As she moved through the trees, Kate heard their voices, flat and oddly accented. Anomaly is confirmed at these coordinates. Imperial protocol requires immediate elimination. Threat assessment. Potentially severe. Target appears unaware of heritage. Termination should be simple. Kate's heart raced. Were they talking about her? Elimination? Termination? She moved faster through the woods. Miles away in the vastness of space, Emperor Zorax of the Galactic Empire sat on his crystal throne. A hologram glowed before him, showing Earth rotating slowly. The sensors are certain? He asked, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. Yes, Emperor, replied Commander Dre, kneeling before the throne. Our scanners detected cosmic energy matching that of the entity known as Baba Yaga. The signature is weaker but unmistakable. The Emperor's 7 fingers tapped nervously on the armrest. Impossible. We confirmed Baba Yaga's disappearance 50 Earth years ago. It appears she may have had offspring, Emperor. A half-human child. The throne room fell silent. The Emperor's yellow eyes narrowed. Then we must act quickly before it realizes what it is. Send your best agents. If this abomination is indeed the offspring of Baba Yaga, it cannot be allowed to reach maturity. Back on Earth, Kate reached the edge of the forest. The town lights glowed in the distance. Her phone buzzed with a message from Olivia. Where are you? I'm at the restaurant. Kate looked back. Through the trees, she could see flashlights moving. The men were following her. The pendant glowed brightly now, impossible to ignore. And for the first time in her life, Kate felt something stir inside her, something ancient and powerful, something that had been sleeping for 25 years, something that was finally waking up. Kate ran through the evening darkness toward town, her breath making small clouds in the cool air. She could still hear footsteps behind her moving faster than normal humans should move. Her phone buzzed again. "I'm on my way," she texted Olivia quickly. "Something weird is happening." The road into town curved sharply around a hill. As Kate rounded the bend, bright headlights suddenly blinded her. A black car sped directly toward her, moving to the wrong side of the road to hit her. There was no time to jump away. Something inside Kate snapped. She threw her hands up instinctively and the world seemed to slow down. The pendant at her neck burned like fire. The car hit an invisible wall just feet away from her, crumpling as if it had struck concrete. The crash echoed through the quiet, country night. Kate stood frozen, her hands still raised, unable to believe what had just happened. The two men she had seen earlier were inside the car. They moved in the wreckage, their bodies bending in ways that human bodies shouldn't bend. "Kate, oh my God, Kate!" Olivia's voice broke through Kate's shock. Her friend had been driving to check on her and had witnessed everything from her own car parked just down the road. "Did you see that?" Olivia asked, running to Kate. "The car just stopped. Like it hit something invisible." Kate couldn't speak. Her hands were shaking, and the pendant was still warm against her skin. Olivia grabbed her arm and pulled her toward her own car. "We need to go. Now." As they drove away, Kate looked back. The men were climbing out of the wreckage, their bodies straightening themselves in unnatural ways. Their eyes glowed blue in the darkness. "They're not human," Kate whispered. "What are you talking about?" Olivia asked, speeding toward town. "What's happening, Kate?" "I don't know. They were watching my house. They talked about elimination and termination. They tried to kill me." Olivia's hands tightened on the steering wheel. "We're going to the police." But the police station was dark when they arrived. A note on the door said there was an emergency outside town and all officers were responding. Kate felt a chill run down her spine. "They've done something," she said. "We can't stay here." They drove to Olivia's apartment above the town's small bookstore. Once inside, Kate told Olivia everything. The strange things that had always happened. Around her, the dreams, the men watching her house, and how she had somehow stopped the car. "This is crazy," Olivia said, pacing the small living room. "But I saw it, Kate. I saw what you did to that car." Kate pulled out her pendant and gasped. The wood had changed. Symbols now covered its surface, glowing faintly with blue light. "This was my mother's," Kate said. "Before she disappeared, she told me to always wear it. She said it would protect me." Olivia took Kate's laptop and searched for the symbols. After an hour, she pointed to the screen. "Look at this. These symbols appear in old Slavic myths about Baba Yaga." "The witch who lived in a house with chicken legs?" Kate asked, remembering childhood stories. "Not just a witch. According to some stories, Baba Yaga was an ancient being with great power. A loud crash from outside made them both jump. Through the window, they saw more black cars arriving in the street below. Men in dark suits were getting out, all moving with the same unnatural stiffness. "They found us," Kate whispered. Suddenly, the apartment door burst open. Kate raised her hands again, ready to defend herself, but instead of the strange men, an older man with gray hair and kind eyes stood there. He wore a worn leather jacket and had a scar across his cheek. "Catherine Winters?" he asked, his voice urgent but gentle. "My name is Joseph Clark. I knew your mother." He looked at the pendant glowing at her neck, then at the men gathering in the street. "We don't have much time," he said. "Your mother wasn't from here, Kate, and neither are the people trying to kill you." Behind him, the window shattered as something flew through it, the room filled with thick smoke. "Trust me if you want to live," Joseph said, holding out his hand. Kate looked at Olivia, who nodded despite her fear. Kate took Joseph's hand and they ran toward the back door as the smoke filled the apartment. Joseph led Kate and Olivia through the back alley behind the bookstore. They could hear heavy footsteps and strange electronic sounds coming from the street. Joseph's old truck waited nearby with its engine running. "Get in," he ordered, and they did without question. As they drove away from town, Kate looked at the mysterious man who claimed to know her mother. "Who are you? Who were those people? What's happening to me?" Her questions came fast and panicked. Joseph kept his eyes on the dark road ahead. "I was part of a group that protected your mother when she first came to Earth. Those people back there are agents of the Galactic Empire. And what's happening to you is your heritage finally waking up." Olivia laughed nervously. "Galactic Empire? Like in the movies?" "Not like the movies," Joseph said seriously. "The real empire controls most of the known galaxy. They're ruled by beings who fear anything they can't understand or control." "And my mother?" Kate asked quietly, touching her glowing pendant. Joseph was silent for a moment. "Your mother wasn't human, Kate. The stories you've heard about Baba Yaga, the witch from Slavic folklore, those were just human attempts to explain something beyond their understanding." The truck turned onto a dirt road that led deep into the forest. Baba Yaga was what humans called her, but her real name couldn't be pronounced by human tongues. She was a cosmic entity, ancient and powerful. She could bend reality, move between dimensions, and see through time itself. The Empire feared her kind more than anything. Kate's head swam with these impossible revelations. "You're saying my mother was some kind of alien witch goddess?" "And you are her daughter," Joseph nodded. "Half human, half something else, something the Empire has been hunting for 25 years. The truck stopped at what looked like an abandoned mining entrance. Joseph led them inside, past old equipment, and to a hidden elevator. It took them deep underground to a facility, with white walls and people rushing around with purpose. "Welcome to the Guardians," Joseph said. "What's left of us anyway?" A woman with short gray hair approached. "Joseph, the Imperial Hunter team has landed. They'll be tracking her energy signature." "Then we don't have much time," Joseph replied. "Diane, this is Catherine, Baba Yaga's daughter." Diane's eyes widened. "So it's true. We'd hoped." She placed a hand gently on Kate's shoulder. "Your mother saved many of us. We've been waiting for you." In a private room, Joseph showed Kate and Olivia videos of strange ships in the sky, documents about alien civilizations, and photos of a woman who looked remarkably like Kate, but with eyes that seemed to contain galaxies. "That's my mother," Kate whispered, recognizing her instantly despite never seeing her this way. "She came to Earth to hide from the Empire," Joseph explained. "She fell in love with your father, had you, and hoped to live peacefully. But the Empire never stops hunting cosmic entities. When they got close, she left to draw them away from you and your father. My dad died thinking she abandoned us," Kate said bitterly. Joseph nodded sadly. "She knew you'd be safer that way. She left the pendant to protect you and hide your true nature until you were ready." Suddenly, Kate doubled over in pain. Her skin seemed to glow from within, and the room's lights flickered. "What's happening to her?" Olivia cried. "Her powers are awakening," Diane said, rushing in with equipment. "The pendant can't suppress them anymore." Kate could suddenly see through walls. She sensed people moving throughout the facility. More. Disturbingly, she could feel dark presences approaching from above. "They're coming," she gasped. "Many of them." Joseph quickly pulled an old leather journal from his bag and pressed it into Kate's hands. "Your mother left this for you. It contains everything she wanted you to know." Kate opened it with trembling hands. Inside were strange symbols, diagrams, and English text in her mother's handwriting. The first page read, "My darling daughter, when you read this, you'll be coming into your power, and they will be coming for you. When they realize who you are, they will send everything they have, and it still won't be enough. You are more than they could ever imagine. You are my legacy." The facility's alarms began to wail. On the security monitors, they watched black ships landing in the forest above them. "The Imperial Hunter Team," Joseph said grimly. "Led by Commander Dre, the Empire's most ruthless tracker. He's never failed to catch his target." Kate closed the journal, a strange calm settling over her. Until now, the pendant at her neck shattered, releasing a burst of blue light that surrounded her like an aura. The underground facility shook as explosions hit from above. Dust fell from the ceiling. People ran in all directions, grabbing weapons and equipment. "They're breaking through faster than expected," Diane shouted over the noise. "Everyone to the emergency exits." Kate stood in the center of it all, the blue light around her pulsing with her heartbeat. She reached out her hand and a metal door across the room bent inward without her touching it. Then, just as suddenly, the light faded and she collapsed to her knees. "The power comes and goes at first," Joseph explained, helping her up. "Your human half is still adjusting to it." Olivia grabbed Kate's other arm. "We need to move." They ran down a long corridor with other guardians. Behind them, the ceiling collapsed as something massive tore through the layers of earth and concrete. Through the dust and debris, Kate saw tall figures in black armor enter the facility. Their helmets had no eye holes, just smooth, reflective surfaces. They carried weapons that looked like nothing made on Earth. "Imperial Hunter Team," Joseph said grimly. "Their sole purpose is tracking and eliminating targets." A guardian fired at one of the hunters. The shot hit directly, but the hunter didn't even slow down. Instead, it raised its weapon and fired back. The guardian disintegrated instantly. The sight of death broke something in Kate. The blue light exploded from her again, brighter than before. She raised her hands, and the corridor behind them filled with swirling darkness that caught the debris and hurled it at the hunters. "Run!" she shouted to the others, not recognizing her own voice. They escaped through emergency tunnels while Kate's power held the hunters back. But outside the facility, more Imperial forces waited. 3 guardians fell before they could reach the trees. Joseph pulled Kate toward a hidden path through the dense forest. "Where are we going?" Olivia asked, breathing hard as they ran. "To the one place your mother said would be safe," Joseph replied to Kate. "Her cabin." Kate had never heard of any cabin. They ran for hours through the darkness, until they reached a small clearing deep in the wilderness. In the middle stood a strange little house that seemed to shift and change when Kate wasn't looking directly at it. Sometimes it appeared to have normal walls. Other times the walls looked like bark or stone or metal. Most strangely, the cabin seemed to rest on what looked like giant bird legs curled beneath it. "The chicken-legged hut," Kate whispered, remembering the old stories. "Your mother's true home," Joseph confirmed. "It exists in multiple dimensions at once." They entered the cabin, which was much larger inside than it appeared from outside. It contained strange furniture, walls lined with books in languages Kate had never seen, and devices that hummed and glowed. "Study your mother's journal," Joseph instructed. "Learn to control your power. I must go back to help the others." "No," Kate protested. "It's too dangerous." Joseph smiled sadly. "I promised your mother I would protect you until you found this place. Now you must learn to protect yourself." Before Kate could argue further, a loud explosion came from the forest. The hunter team had tracked them. "They found us already," Olivia said, peering out a window. Joseph drew an old pistol that glowed with strange blue symbols. "This weapon can hurt them. I'll hold them off while you two hide." He ran outside before Kate could stop him. From the window, Kate and Olivia watched Joseph fire at the approaching hunters. His weapon did seem to affect them, making them stagger when hit. But there were too many. Kate opened her mother's journal with shaking hands, desperately searching for something that could help. She found a page titled "The Between," with diagrams of shadowy pathways connecting different points in space. "It's a dimension between dimensions," Kate realized. "My mother used it to travel." Outside, Joseph took cover behind a tree as the hunters advanced. Commander Dre himself led them now, taller than the others, with red markings on his black armor. "Surrender, the half-breed human," Dre's voice boomed. "Your death will be quick." "Go to hell," Joseph shouted back, firing again. Kate focused on the journal, trying to understand how to access this between place. She needed to help Joseph, but her powers remained frustratingly inconsistent. Olivia grabbed her arm suddenly. "Kate, look!" The cabin was changing. The wooden walls rippled like water and the entire structure seemed to rise slightly on its strange legs. "The hut is responding to you," Olivia whispered. "It knows who you are." Outside, Commander Dre had Joseph cornered. Kate had to act now. She placed her hands on the cabin walls and closed her eyes, calling to whatever power lay sleeping inside her. "Help me," she whispered. "Help me save him." Kate felt the cabin respond to her touch. The walls hummed with energy that flowed into her body. Outside, Commander Dre had Joseph pinned behind a fallen tree. The hunter team surrounded him, their weapons aimed and ready. "Last chance, human," Dre called out. "Where is the offspring of Baba Yaga?" Kate focused on the feeling of power growing inside her. The journal had said the Between was a shadow realm that existed in the spaces between dimensions. To reach it, she needed to see beyond normal reality. Her vision suddenly split. She could still see the cabin around her, but she could also see dark pathways stretching out in all directions like roads made of shadow. "I can see it," she whispered to Olivia. "The Between." "What do we do?" Olivia asked, her voice shaking with fear. Kate reached for one of the shadow paths that led toward Joseph. It felt cold under her touch, like fog made solid. She pushed her hand into it and watched her fingers disappear into darkness. "Stay here," she told Olivia. "I'm going to get Joseph." Before Olivia could argue, Kate stepped fully into the shadow path. The world around her turned dark and silent. She could see reality as if through a thin veil. Joseph behind the tree, the hunters closing in, but they couldn't see her. Kate moved through the Between toward Joseph. When she was directly behind him, she reached through the veil and grabbed his shoulder. Joseph jumped in surprise as Kate's hand appeared from nowhere. "Don't make a sound," she whispered, pulling him backward into the shadow with her. To the hunters, it looked as if Joseph had simply vanished. Commander Dre roared in anger. "Find them. The witch is using the shadow paths like her mother." Kate pulled Joseph through the Between back to the cabin. When they emerged, Olivia gasped in shock. "You just appeared out of nowhere." Joseph looked at Kate with new respect. "You've already learned to access the Between. Your mother didn't master that until she was much older." Kate felt dizzy from the effort, but there was no time to rest. Outside, the hunters were approaching the cabin, scanning for energy signatures. "They'll find us soon," Joseph said. "We need to move the hut." "Move it? How?" Kate asked. Joseph pointed to a strange control panel near the fireplace that was covered in the same symbols as her mother's pendant. "Your mother could shift the hut between locations and dimensions. The cabin responds to her blood, to you." Kate placed her hands on the panel. The symbols began to glow and the entire cabin trembled. Outside, the giant chicken legs unfolded, lifting the hut off the ground. "It's working!" Olivia shouted, looking out the window as they rose above the trees. The hunters fired at them, but their weapons couldn't penetrate the cabin's strange walls. Commander Dre watched in fury as the hut walked away on its massive legs, soon disappearing into the forest. Miles away, the cabin finally stopped in another clearing. Kate collapsed into a chair, exhausted from using her new powers. Joseph tended to a wound on his arm where one of the hunters had grazed him. "You saved my life," he said to Kate. "But they'll keep hunting us. The Empire doesn't give up." "Then we need to take the fight to them," Kate said, surprising herself with her own determination. "My mother's journal has information about Imperial bases on Earth." "That would be suicide," Joseph warned. "You're not ready to face their full force." Kate opened the journal again, studying the pages about her powers. "Then help me get ready. Teach me everything you know about my mother, about the Empire, about my abilities." For the next 3 weeks, they stayed hidden in the moving cabin, which shifted locations every night. Joseph trained Kate to control her powers while Olivia helped decipher the more cryptic parts of the journal. Kate learned to maintain her connection to the Between for longer periods. She discovered she could move objects with her mind, though the larger ones still drained her quickly. Most importantly, she learned to feel the energy signatures of the Imperial hunters, allowing her to sense them before they got close. One morning, as Kate practiced creating shields of energy around the cabin, Joseph received a message on a strange device he carried. "The Imperial Detention Facility," he said grimly. "They've captured more Guardians. They're being held in an orbital station above Earth." Kate closed her mother's journal. The blue light around her hands had become steady now, no longer flickering, unpredictably. "Then that's where we're going next," she said. "I'm ready to bring the fight to them." Joseph looked at her with concern. "It's heavily guarded, Kate. Even your mother would have found it challenging." Kate's eyes flashed with blue fire. "They came to my home. They killed innocent people. They need to learn what happens when you hunt the daughter of Baba Yaga." The cabin seemed to respond to her resolve, its walls glowing with the same blue light that surrounded Kate. "The Empire will call you the witch once you reveal yourself," Joseph warned. "It's what they called your mother when they feared her." Kate smiled grimly. "Good. Let them fear me too." Kate stood in the center of her mother's cabin, eyes closed, focusing her energy. The space around her darkened as she pulled more of the between into the real world. Joseph and Olivia watched from a safe distance. "The detention facility orbits Earth at 20,000 miles, Joseph explained. "No human technology can reach it undetected." "I'm not using human technology," Kate replied. She opened her eyes, which now glowed blue like distant stars. "I'm using the between to fold space." According to her mother's journal, the hut itself was a vessel for traveling through dimensions. It could move not just on Earth but between worlds. Kate placed her hands on the control panel and felt the cabin respond to her blood, her energy. "Are you sure you're ready for this?" Olivia asked nervously. Kate nodded. Her confidence had grown, with her powers. "The Empire took everything from my mother. They killed Guardians who protected me. It's time they learned fear." The hut trembled. Outside, its giant chicken legs folded up as the entire structure shifted sideways into the between. For a moment they existed in two places at once, the forest clearing and the shadow dimension. Then the cabin moved through the darkness, following Kate's will. Through the windows they could see stars and emptiness. They were traveling through space itself, hidden within the between. Hours later, the hut settled into a new location. When Kate pulled them partway back to normal space, they could see a massive Imperial station through the windows, a dark metal structure orbiting silently above Earth. "We're here," Kate whispered. "I can sense the prisoners inside." Joseph readied his strange weapon. "Remember the plan. I create a distraction while you free the captives." Kate shook her head. "Plans have changed. I'm going alone." "That's suicide," Joseph protested. "I've been studying the between. I can move through their facility unseen. They won't know I'm there until it's too late." Before Joseph could argue further, Kate stepped fully into the shadow dimension. The familiar cold darkness surrounded her as she moved from the cabin into the Imperial station. Inside, Kate witnessed technology beyond human understanding. The station was staffed by various alien species, all wearing Imperial uniforms. She moved silently through walls and corridors, invisible to their sensors. In the detention block, she found the captured Guardians. They were being questioned by Imperial officers about the Witch and Earth's defenses. One prisoner was a bloodied Diane who refused to reveal anything despite her pain. Kate waited until the interrogators left, then emerged from the between into the cell block. The prisoners gasped as she appeared from shadows. "Kate Winters," Diane said weakly. "You shouldn't have come." "I couldn't leave you here," Kate replied, using her powers to unlock the cells. The blue energy from her hands melted through Imperial technology with ease. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. Commander Dre's voice echoed over speakers in an alien language, but Kate somehow understood. "The Witch is aboard. All units converge on detention level. Containment protocol active." Kate helped Diane stand. "We need to move quickly. My mother's hut is docked nearby in the between." As they rushed through corridors, Imperial troops blocked their path. Kate raised her hands and darkness flowed from her fingers, enveloping the soldiers. When the darkness cleared, They lay unconscious on the floor. Your powers, Diane whispered in awe. They're growing stronger than your mother's ever were. They were almost to the extraction point when Commander Dre himself appeared, flanked by elite hunters in special armor. Daughter of Baba Yaga, he said, his voice deep and menacing behind his faceless helmet. I've waited a long time for this meeting. Kate pushed the freed prisoners behind her. Get to the hut. I'll handle this. Dre laughed. Your mother fled, rather than face the Empire. Will you run too, little witch? Kate felt anger rise within her. The blue light around her hands intensified, crackling with energy. My mother protected me. Now I'll protect her legacy. Dre fired his weapon, a blast of red energy that should have disintegrated Kate where she stood. Instead, she caught it in her hand, the energy swirling around her fingers like liquid. The commander stepped back in shock. Impossible. No entity can absorb Imperial disruptor fire. Kate smiled coldly. I'm not just any entity. I'm something new. She released the energy back at him, amplified by her own power. The blast threw Dre against the wall, cracking his armor. The other hunters opened fire, but Kate was ready. She pulled the between around herself and the prisoners like a cloak, making their shots pass. News of Kate's attack on the Imperial detention facility spread quickly through the Empire's communication channels. On the Crystal Throne, Emperor Zorax received the report with growing rage. She rescued all the prisoners and damaged our orbital station. His 7 fingers crushed the armrest of his throne. The messenger bowed low. Yes, Emperor. Commander Dre reports that she used the between like her mother, but with even greater control. She absorbed weapon fire and redirected it. Emperor, Zorax stood suddenly. This cannot be allowed to continue. Mobilize the Imperial Armada. I want every available ship focused on finding and eliminating this witch. Across the galaxy, Imperial warships changed course, all heading toward the small blue planet called Earth. Meanwhile, Kate's hut had settled on a distant moon in a system, far from Earth. Inside, the rescued Guardians recovered from their ordeal while Joseph tended to their wounds. The Empire will come with everything they have now, Diane warned Kate. You've made yourself their primary target. Kate nodded, feeling the weight of her actions. Good. While they focus on me, Earth stays safer. Olivia approached with Kate's mother's journal. There's something here you should see. She pointed to pages describing a hidden outpost of beings who had opposed the Empire for centuries. The Resistance, Kate read aloud, led by species the Empire tried to wipe out. Joseph looked over her shoulder. Your mother had allies among them. The Vorok were especially loyal to her. Then that's where we go next, Kate decided. We need allies if we're going to fight the Empire. Using coordinates from the journal, Kate guided the hut through the between once more. They emerged near a massive asteroid field that appeared empty at first glance. But as they moved closer, Kate sensed life and technology hidden within the floating rocks. Suddenly, their hut was surrounded by small, fast ships that appeared from hiding places among the asteroids. A voice came through on Joseph's communication device. Unidentified vessel, you have entered Resistance territory. Identify yourself or be destroyed. Before Joseph could answer, a different voice cut in. Wait, I'm reading energy signatures similar to, it cannot be. Is that a Baba Yaga pattern? Kate stepped forward. I am Catherine Winters, daughter of Baba Yaga. Silence followed. Then, dock at these coordinates. Our leader will meet you. The hut was guided to a hidden base built inside the largest asteroid. When they stepped out, they were met by strange beings of various species. Some looked almost human, while others were completely alien. One group stood out. Tall beings, with gray skin and 4 arms, their eyes glowing soft purple. They bowed deeply when they saw Kate. The Vorok, Joseph whispered. They served your mother for millennia. A woman stepped through the crowd. She was human, with dark skin and gray-streaked hair, wearing a uniform unlike any on Earth. My name is Lara Ward. she said. I left Earth 50 years ago when the Empire first came hunting for your mother. I've led the resistance in this sector ever since. She studied Kate carefully. You look just like her when she was younger, but your energy, it's different, stronger in some ways. Kate felt drawn to this woman who had known her mother. Can you help us fight the Empire? Lara smiled grimly. We've been fighting them for decades, but now that you're here. She turned to address everyone. The prophecy spoke of Baba Yaga's return. Instead, we have been given her daughter, half human, half cosmic entity, a new kind of power the Empire has never faced. The Vorok moved forward, their leader speaking in a melodic voice. We have waited, daughter of Baba Yaga. The old songs told of your coming. We pledge ourselves to your cause as we did to your mother's. Lara led them deeper into the base, showing Kate their operations. The resistance had ships, weapons, and fighters, but they had always been too few to directly challenge the Empire. Your mother was a symbol to us, Lara explained. When she disappeared, many lost hope, but now you're here, and already stories spread of the witch who infiltrated an Imperial facility and rescued prisoners. On screens around the command center, Kate saw Imperial propaganda, images of herself surrounded by blue light, labeled Dangerous Entity and Imperial Enemy Number 1. They fear you, Lara said, and fear can inspire our allies who have been hiding too long. Kate touched her mother's journal. The Empire hunted my mother for being different. They tried to kill me for the same reason. How many others have they destroyed out of fear? Countless species, entire civilizations, Lara replied softly. Kate's eyes flashed with blue fire. Then it's time to show them what real fear is. Alarms suddenly blared throughout the base. A resistance officer rushed in. Imperial fleet detected. Hundreds of ships just emerged from hyperspace. On the main screen they watched as the darkness of space filled with Imperial warships. Lara's face paled. It's the Imperial Armada. They've never deployed their full force like this before. Kate stepped forward, her hands already glowing with power. They've come for me, and I'm ready. The Imperial Armada surrounded the asteroid base, their weapons locked on target. On the command ship, Emperor Zorax himself had come to witness the end of Baba Yaga's offspring. Give us the witch, the Emperor's voice boomed through the communication system. Surrender her and your resistance may live. Inside the base, resistance fighters rushed to battle stations. Lara turned to Kate. We'll fight with you, but we can't win against the full armada. Kate looked at the screens showing hundreds of Imperial ships. Her hands trembled slightly, but her voice was steady. You don't need to fight. This is between me and them now. Joseph grabbed her arm. Kate, you can't face them alone. I'm not alone, Kate replied, touching her mother's journal. I never was. She stepped away from the others and closed her eyes. The blue light that now constantly surrounded her grew brighter. When she opened her eyes again, everyone gasped. They no longer looked human. They contained swirling galaxies just like her mother's. The suppression device is ready, Emperor, Commander Dre reported on the Imperial command ship. It will trap her between dimensions when activated. Emperor Zorax nodded. The moment she shows herself, use it. On the viewing screen, a small figure emerged from the asteroid base. Kate floated in open space, unprotected yet unharmed, her body surrounded by blue light. A single human girl thinks she can challenge the Imperial Armada? The Emperor laughed. Fire the suppression device. A massive weapon on the command ship charged up, then fired a beam of pulsing energy directly at Kate. The beam hit her squarely, and for a moment she seemed to flicker between dimensions. It's working, Dre exclaimed. Then Kate smiled. Her body stabilized and her hands rose to grasp the energy beam itself. The suppression device began to overheat as Kate pushed back against its power. Impossible, the Emperor shouted. Nothing can resist the suppressor. Inside the base, the resistance watched in awe as Kate not only resisted the weapon, but began to absorb its energy. "She's more powerful than Baba Yaga ever was," one of the Vorok whispered. In space, Kate finished absorbing the beam. The blue light around her now pulsed with new intensity. She raised her hands, and dozens of Imperial ships suddenly lost power. Drifting helplessly, Emperor Zorax stood from his throne. "All ships open fire! Destroy her!" The Armada released thousands of energy blasts toward Kate. She threw her arms wide, and the between opened around her like dark wings. The weapons fire disappeared into the shadow dimension, emerging behind the fleet to strike their own ships. Kate's voice somehow carried through space to every ship, every corner of the fleet. "I am Catherine Winters, daughter of Baba Yaga and humanity. I offered you peace by leaving Earth. You chose war." She moved toward the command ship, passing through Imperial vessels as if they were made of mist. Wherever she touched, systems failed and weapons went dark. In desperation, the Emperor activated his final weapon, a device designed to collapse a star. It fired directly at the asteroid base housing the Resistance. Kate saw the blast coming. She placed herself between it and the base, spreading her arms wide. The weapon's energy struck her with enough force to destroy a planet. For one terrible moment, Kate seemed to vanish in the blinding light. The Emperor smiled in triumph. But when the light faded, Kate remained. She held the weapon's energy in, her hands like a ball of fire. "You would destroy thousands to kill one?" she asked, her voice echoing across the void. "That ends today." With a gesture, she released the energy back toward the Imperial fleet, not as destruction but as a wave that disabled their systems. Ship after ship went dark. Kate appeared suddenly on the bridge of the command ship, standing before Emperor Zorax. Imperial guards fired at her, but their weapons had no effect. "How?" the Emperor whispered, fear in his yellow eyes. "How are you more powerful than your mother?" "Because I am both," Kate replied. "I have her cosmic nature, but I also have human compassion, human determination. You tried to kill me for being different. Now you'll learn to accept difference." The Emperor reached for a hidden weapon, but Kate was faster. She touched his forehead, and his eyes widened as knowledge flowed into his mind. The pain of all. Those the Empire had hurt. The fear of those they had hunted. "Feel what you've done," Kate said softly. "Understand what you've caused." The Emperor fell to his knees, overwhelmed by the emotions he had never before experienced. Across the fleet, the same message appeared on all Funky.